Hi everyone and welcome to Medicine for the Soul. My name's Allie and today we'll be moving through Saturday Salutations. Let's get started. Let's begin in a comfortable seat. So coming into Sukhasana or maybe seated on heels, whatever feels the most comfortable for you. Hands placed down onto the knees and you're just going to close down the eyes here. Imagine that there is a string at the crown of your head that is connecting you from your head up into the ceiling, elongating your spine, rolling your shoulders down and back. Try and keep your shoulders right over your hips. With this long spine, try and focus on the flow of your breath. Noticing the quality. Try and bring some awareness to your inhales and your exhales. If you practice Ujjayi breathing in your Vinyasa practice, you can go ahead and begin that now. Ujjayi is a pranayama where you seal the lips and you breathe in and out through the nose, but as you breathe out, you have a slight constriction at the back of the throat, sounding like an ocean wave. Or maybe like Darth Vader if you're a Star Wars fan. That's just an option. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Deep breath out through the mouth. If you have an intention that you would like to set for your practice, now's the time to do it. If nothing comes to mind, I offer a very simple idea of love. Having love for yourself and those around you. Deep breath in through the nose. Deep breath out through the mouth. Good. Slowly open the eyes. We're just going to take some rounding through the spine. So we're just going to dip our chest forward as we inhale. And then as you exhale, you're just going to send your chest back, rounding through the spine, chin tucks into the chest. Inhale as you come forward. Exhale as you press yourself back. A few more like that. Inhale, coming forward towards the right, sinking the chest forward. And exhale, rounding and leaning back. Next time you come through center, go ahead and switch sides. So as you come back, you're going to come through the left side as you inhale, pressing that chest forward. And then exhale, chest leans back. A few more like that on the left side. And then the next time your chest dips forward, just allow yourself to come back to center. We're going to take a child's pose at the back edge of the mat. So knees go wide, toes to touch, hips sink back onto those heels, arms reach out in front of you, forehead comes down towards your mat. Breath in, breath out. Go ahead and walk your hands over towards the right for a side body stretch on the left side. Bring yourself back through center and then over towards the left, stretching on the right side. Coming back through center one last time. Take a breath in here through the nose. Breath out through the mouth. Come up onto all fours, tabletop position. Hands stack underneath the shoulders, knees stack underneath the hips, toes can be tucked or untucked here. Zipping up that belly button into your spine to engage the core slightly. Taking an inhale, you're going to drop the belly, gaze lifts up along with the sits bones for cow pose. And then exhale, chin tucks into chest, round and curl for cat. Inhale as your belly drops, sits bones lift, gazing up. And exhale, chin tucks into chest, round and curl. Go through a few more like that on your own, following your breath, but just noticing how this has translated from seated, and now we're doing this in a tabletop position. Maybe things feel different. You're able to expand a bit more across the shoulders and the chest as to what we were doing with those spinal circles seated. One last round of cat-cows and we will come back to a neutral spine. Coming back to that neutral spine, go ahead and tuck the toes, lift the knees and send the hips up and back for Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. All 10 fingers and toes are facing forward, spine is long. Really think about lifting your hips up towards the sky. You can take a deep bend in the knees here if it's your first downward facing dog. And then maybe eventually straightening them. We're going to take a few breaths here to just walk the dog out. Maybe lifting a leg if that suits you. Once you feel like you've worked some kinks out in your spine and in your legs, come back to stillness. Inhale, high tippy toes. Keep your tippy toes high, heels high. And you're going to want to walk your feet to your hands, trying to keep your hips as high as possible. Once you're at the top of your mat, release those heels down, hips width apart, and allow yourself to forward fold, Uttanasana. Arms grab opposite elbows, swaying from side to side. Relax the head, relax the neck. Inhale, halfway lift, hands come to shins or block flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root to rise, reach those arms up overhead. Mountain pose. Exhale, hands to heart center. Closing down the eyes. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. We'll be moving through Surya Namaskar A. So stepping to the top of your mat, toes to touch, heels apart, arms reach up overhead, mountain pose. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back to a plank pose. Option here to drop down the knees. Actually, let's all drop down the knees together for our first vinyasa. So bring both knees down to the mat. Heels lift up, maybe you cross the ankles, that is just my preference. Shift forward, bend the elbows, and lower yourself all the way down to your yoga mat. Release those legs down, tops of the toes press down into the mat. Hands are stacked underneath the elbows here. Inhale, press up for low cobra. Exhale, forehead comes down to the mat. Moving through tabletop and sending your hips up and back, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. It's important to note that you don't always have to do a full out vinyasa with your legs up in a plank. You can always come down onto your knees. It's important to warm up the spine before you go into upward facing dog, as it's quite an extreme back bend. Last breath here. So now that we have the breakdown, inhale high tippy toes, deep bend the knees, look forward at the top of your mat, step or float, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root to rise, reach those arms up overhead, mountain pose. Exhale, arms reach down by their sides. We're going to move through that about 3 more times. Breath to movement, so take any modifications that you need. Let's do this. So inhale, reach those arms up overhead. Exhale, swan dive forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, hands to plant, step feet back to plank pose, moving through your vinyasa as you shift forward. Lower down halfway or all the way, chaturanga. Inhale for your back bend. And exhale, hips lift up to the sky, downward facing dog, 3 breaths. That's 1. Think about lifting your hips up. That's 2. Maybe reaching your heels down towards your mat. That's 3. Inhale, high tippy toes, deep bend in the knees, look forward at the top of your mat, step or float, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, arms reach up overhead as you send yourself up to standing, mountain pose. Exhale, arms release. Inhale, reach those arms back up, mountain pose. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, we're going to move through that chaturanga. Ride that exhale as you shift forward, lower down halfway. Inhale up for Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. 3 breaths. If your heels are already firmly planted on your mat, try to think about lifting up your toes so that the weight sends even further into those heels. And if your heels aren't on the mat yet, it's really just about opening up the calves and the hamstrings. Last breath. Inhale, high tippy toes, deep bend the knees, step or float, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead, mountain pose. Exhale, release those arms down. Last time. Inhale, mountain pose, Utthita Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, halfway lift. Exhale, plant those hands, step your feet back, and move through that vinyasa. Inhale as you shift forward. Exhale, lower down halfway. Inhale for your back bend of choice, lifting those thighs up off of the mat if you're an upward dog. And exhale, hips lead the way. Send those hips up and back, downward facing dog, 3 breaths. Let it all go. Find your center. That's 1 more breath left. Inhale, high tippy toes, deep bend the knees, and find your way into a forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead, mountain pose. Exhale, release those arms down. How are we feeling? Good? We're going to continue. So, coming into chair pose, toes to touch, heels are slightly apart. Bend the knees, sink the hips back into chair pose. Arms can reach up overhead. If you don't have that shoulder opening or flexibility yet, like me, you can always bring your hands down into a prayer position. If you want to work on that shoulder flexibility, try bringing your biceps by your ears without arching your spine too much. It's quite challenging for some of us, so be gentle. Chair pose, deep breath in, deep breath out, deep breath in, deep breath out. Good. Go ahead and release into a forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Go ahead and step that left foot back. We're going to come down into a low lunge. Drop down that back knee, untuck the back toes. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead. Exhale, release. Tuck the toes, send yourself back into a plank position, moving through your vinyasa. We'll meet back in downward facing dog. Breath in, breath out. Inhale, high tippy toes, deep bend the knees. Find yourself at the top of the mat in a forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold down. Maybe you can straighten your legs a bit more. Inhale, come up to standing mountain pose. Exhale, release those hands down. All right, finding yourself back in that chair pose at the top of the mat. Bend those knees, sink those hips back. Maybe this time you try to reach those arms up overhead. Spin those pinkies in so that you're rotating your biceps in. Breathe. Find your breath. Static holds in chair pose can be kind of annoying, so I apologize. And then go ahead and release. Hands come down to a prayer position. Folding forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Go ahead and step that right foot back, dropping down that back knee, untucking the back toes. Send those arms up overhead for a low crescent. Breath in, breath out. Go ahead and plant those hands, step the feet back to a plank position, moving through your vinyasa. And if your arms are tired, you can take a child's pose or just go straight back to downward facing dog. This is optional. As you exhale, send those hips up and back, downward facing dog. Maybe try working those legs a little bit more straight here. One more breath. And we'll be adding on. Inhale, high tippy toes, deep bend the knees, look forward to the top of your mat, step or float. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise, reach those arms up overhead, mountain pose. Exhale, hands come down. Once again, we're going to find that lovely chair pose. So sink those hips down, bend the knees, make sure you can see your toes. If you can't see your toes, move your weight into your heels a bit more. Hands come down to heart center. Left elbow hooks over right knee for a twist. Hold and breathe. Can you sit an inch lower? Inhale up to center. Exhale, we're going to switch sides, so right elbow hooks over left. I want to keep you in chair pose, but not too long where you start to hate me. And inhale, come back through center. Go ahead and stand up, release. Arms reach up overhead. Hands come to prayer at heart center. And then go ahead and release, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, we're going to step our left foot back, but the option here to keep the knee up this time as you send yourself up into crescent lunge. Try and imagine both hip points are facing forward like headlights. So notice how when you drag your left hip forward, your right hip squares back. Arms reach up overhead. Maybe you take a back bend here. Inhale, come back up if you took that back bend. And then exhale, spin that foot down. We're going to take warrior two. So back foot is at a 45-degree angle. Knee is in line with that ankle. Gaze is over your top middle finger. Hold. Inhale, reverse your warrior, high-fiving the back wall. Exhale, coming back to center. One more time, inhale, reverse that warrior. Exhale, come back to center. We're going to go ahead and cartwheel the arms down, framing the foot, sending yourself back into a plank, taking that optional vinyasa. Maybe try with the knees down or the knees up. Coming up into your back bend. And then sending your hips up and back, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Good. Inhale, high tippy toes, deep bend the knees. You know where you're going. Step or float, top of your mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise. Reach those arms up overhead. Mountain pose. Exhale, hands to heart center. We're going to take chair pose again. So big toes to touch. Sit those hips back. Chair pose, Utkatasana. Bring those hands to heart center in a prayer position. Left elbow hooks over right thigh for a twist. And then go ahead and bring those hands back through center. Staying in that chair pose, stay low, sit low. Right elbow hooks over left knee. Chair pose, twist. Coming back through center, go ahead and stand up, reach those arms up overhead. And then exhale, swan dive forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, we're gonna go ahead and step that right foot back this time, keeping the knee up. And you're gonna inhale, send those hands up overhead, crescent lunge. Once again, we're thinking about our hip points are like headlights straight in front of us. So really taking that right hip and rotating it forward. Good. Knee is in line with the ankle, adjusting your stance if you need. One side is a bit more wobbly for me. I don't know about you guys, but that's how it is for me. Breath in. Maybe you take a back bend here. Goalposting the arms, optional. Keeping strong through that back leg. Coming back up from that back bend. We're going to rotate that back heel down, coming into warrior 2 on the second side. Back foot is at a 45-degree angle bend. Your alignment can be heel to heel or heel to arch, whatever feels most comfortable in those hips. Go ahead and reverse that warrior, high-fiving the back wall. Coming back to warrior 2. One more time, reverse that warrior, high-five the back wall. See if you can feel a side stretch across the left side of your body. And then come back up, warrior 2. Breath in, breath out, cartwheel those arms down. Plant those hands, step your hips and feet back into a plank position, moving through a vinyasa of your choice. Take it slow. A lot of times as class progresses, we speed up through our vinyasas. Try to make this one feel good. Whew. All right, we're gonna move through one more little sun salutation A, and then we'll cool down. So inhale, high tippy toes, deep bend the knees, look forward, step or float the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead as you come up to standing. Exhale, arms release down, Tadasana. This is your last sun A, so make this count. Inhale, reach those arms up overhead, mountain pose, Utthita Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, plant those hands. Step the feet back, move through Chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha or Bhujangasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Good. 3 breaths here. Notice how you feel in this downward facing dog. Maybe you feel a bit more open. High tippy toes. Step or float, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise, reach those arms up overhead. And exhale, finally release. Yay. All right, we're gonna make our way back down onto our bottom, so we're just gonna flow through that. Go ahead and bring those arms up overhead one last time. I lied. And then send yourself forward into a forward fold. Make this count. Halfway lift, it's your last halfway lift. Think about that. Exhale, plant those hands, step those feet back, either straight to downward facing dog or take your last vinyasa. You got this. It's your choice. And send those hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Once we're all in downward facing dog, last time I'm going to tell you to come up onto your high tippy toes. Except this time, take a deep bend in the knees and keep bending them until they come down to the mat at the exact same time. Hips sink back onto the heels. And then we're going to come forward into seated. Legs come out in front of us. We're going to take a few forward folds, and then you'll be on your way. So congratulations for getting through the hard part. Yay. Reach those arms up overhead. We're going to take Paschimottanasana, so legs are straight out in front of you, feet are flexed, and fold forward. Now, this is the type of stretch, I feel like I say this time and time again, you have to work on it every day if you want to see progress. That goes with a lot of things in yoga. You really have to commit. So maybe think about that. Where on your mat can you commit to? Right now it's committing to this forward fold, staying with it. Allow your chest to dip with each exhale. We're almost through it. You got this. Last 2 breaths. And inhale, come back up to seated. We're going to take Baddha Konasana, bound ankle pose. So soles of the feet pressed together. And the closer that you bring your heels towards your groin area, the more intense the stretch is going to be. So keep that in mind. Hands come down to the ankles, sending your chest forward. You're just going to fold forward over your ankles. Maybe your forehead reaches down towards your feet. Feeling that stretch in the inner and outer hips. Deep breaths here. And go ahead and slowly round back up. All right, we're going to make our way into a comfortable position on our backs. So finding yourself on your back, legs stretch out long, arms are out by their sides. Closing down the eyes here. I suggest that you stay here for as long as you can, but this is where I leave you. Bring your hands in a heart position, in a prayer position in front of the heart. The love and light in me honors and sees the love and light within each of you. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I'll see you back on the mat soon. We bow forward to seal our practice. Namaste.